Church Universal just recently celebrated the Feast of the Trinity. The Feast of the Trinity can best be celebrated in contemporary times as interdependence and interrelations, especially when we think of three current events in our modern world. The first one is actually to do with conversion, the launch of the Ignatian Year on May 20th, 2021, that commemorates the 500th anniversary of the conversion of St. Ignatius of Loyola after his knees were shattered by a cannonball in Pamplona in 1521. And this is an event for the Society of Jesus and for the church as a whole. Number two is advancement of life on earth. This has to do with the successful launch of China's space module called Tianhe, or Harmony of Heaven, on April 29, 2021, and the docking of Tianzhou 2, or Heavenly Vessel, on Sunday, May 30th, 2021. The third contemporary event is Sustainability of Life on Earth, which has to do with the November 1 to 12, 2021 Glasgow COP26 meeting, aimed at bringing parties together to accelerate actions towards the goals of the Paris Agreement signed on 12 December 2015 and enter into force on 4th November 2016. Its goal is to limit global warming to well below 2, preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius, compared to pre-industrial levels, and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, an international environmental treaty addressing climate change, negotiated and signed by 154 states at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, informally known as the Earth Summit, held in Rio de Janeiro from 3rd to 4th June 1992. Pope Francis has this to say, that really on Earth Day, 22nd of April 2021, this is the movement to act, the moment to act. We are at the age, care for nature so that nature may care for us. It is so appropriate as we celebrate the upcoming Glasgow COP26. Our interdependent interrelations call for global advancement of sustainable life on Earth, and this depends pivotally on conversion. The need to experience a conversion, according to Laudato Si 218, is a must from a distorted and tyrannical anthropocentrism based on Laudato Si 69, 68, 118. Of human first above all else. Two, we are part and parcel of each other. Nature is in us and we are in nature. This conversion is non-negotiable. It is really a conversion from the ecological sins, according to Laudato Si number 8, that degrade the integrity of the earth by causing changes in its climate, by stripping the earth of its natural forests, or destroying its wetlands. For human beings to contaminate the earth's waters, its lands, its airs, and its life, which Patriarch Bartholomew in Laudato Si number 8 rightly stressed, to commit a crime against the natural world is a sin against ourselves and a sin against God. The nexus between interdependence and interrelations is clear. Laudato Si number 86 affirms that God wills the interdependence of creatures. Creatures exist only in dependence on each other to complete each other in the exercise of, in the service of each other. Moreover, in Laudato Si 164, interdependence obliges us to think of one world with a common plan. In other words, there must be really one common vision, one strategic plan to really recreate the world together with the Trinity. Laudato Si 141 states there is an interrelation between ecosystems and between the various spheres of social interaction, demonstrating yet again that the whole is greater than the part. Since everything is closely interrelated, today's problems call for a vision capable of taking into account every aspect of the global crisis, obliging us to recourse to integral ecology as a new paradigm, one which clearly respects its human and social dimensions. Laudato Si 138 explains. Interdependent interrelations are arguably laid down in Laudato Si number 139. We are part of nature, included in it, and thus in constant interaction with it. Since interdependent relations cause humankind to embrace a prophetic and contemplative lifestyle in Laudato Si 211 of less is more, Laudato Si 222, it means less wastage of electricity by turning off lights not in use, less consumption of fast, fatty junk and processed food, less consumption of sweetened soft drinks, less use of papers, less single use of plastics, more composting of waste, more cycling, recycling, more walking, more tree planting, more carpooling and the use of public transport, more care in cooking what can be consumed, more contemplation that leads to concrete actions to respond to the cries of the excluded and the earth community as stated in Laudato Si 49. And this is really part of the Laudato Si action platform that Cardinal Turkson of the Discovery for Integrated Human Development has launched. And I think it's good for us to pay attention to this new platform to register ourselves, our organization, our institutions. Our faith in the Trinity, in interdependent interrelations in our common home, alerts us that we share in the pain and suffering, and they deserve our attention, prayer, support, actions of solidarity, and denunciation. Recently, we witnessed on Al Jazeera News the eruption of Mount Nyiragongo, which is near to Goma in DRC. If we believe in the Trinity, it means the expression of solidarity with the 400,000 displaced inhabitants of Goma due to eruption of this Mount Nyiragongo volcano on May 22, 2021 in the eastern city of Goma in DRC, with 92 earthquakes and tremors recorded in the past 24 hours following the eruption on May 22, as the inhabitants seek refuge in the neighboring country of Rwanda. It means solidarity with the 90% of the Tigray's 1.2 million of the 5 million total population who are in need of food supply. The Red Cross are reaching out to 40 villages in northern Tigray region already. It means we must heed the call of WHO on behalf of COVAX that the vaccines in the global north designated for children 12 years and above be contributed to the poor countries of the global south. If our faith in the Trinity is thus so. Our faith in the Trinity tells us we must respond to the cries of the survivors of the 11-day Palestine-Israeli war from May 10 to 21, 2021, that claimed 253 lives in Gaza and the need for humanitarian aid to reconstruct their homes, since 16,800 housing units were destroyed, with 1,800 had become unfit for living, and 1,000 were destroyed completely in Gaza. At the same time, in this war, 6 Israelis were killed and more than 200 people have been wounded in Israel. Such collateral damage by the Israeli government and Hamas is deemed unacceptable. If we believe in the Trinity, we really need to denounce over and over again the crime against humanity of genocide and terror in Myanmar, and that we must constantly promote the legitimacy of the National Unity Government, or NUG, by ASEAN nations and, of course, recognition by the international community. And there are two interesting new release. One is abusive Israeli policies constitute crimes of apartheid persecution. And the second one is Q&A, a threshold crossed. And this is related to the need to denounce the crime against humanity of apartheid and persecution of the Palestinians in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory of West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip, including the systemic displacement of 35 Palestinian Bedouin communities of 90,000 or so residents committed by the Israeli government, based especially on the April 27, 2021 Human Rights Watch report entitled A Threshold Crossed, Israeli Authorities and the Crimes of Apartheid and Persecution. And here you can see for yourself the kind of crime of apartheid, discrimination, persecution against the Palestinians by separating them. And so as sojourners believing in the Trinity, we are grateful that the Trinity reminds us that other kinds and humankind and nature are interrelated and interdependent in our common home. And with this gratitude, we truly give thanks to God for our belief and the experience of the Trinity, which is really intimately connected with our sense and experience of the interdependent interrelations of all humankind and other kinds in our common home. God's abundant blessings